Today we're going to learn how cities developed or towns developed from the medieval ages until today. So first of all, what you can see here is two bigger trade routes, one from west to east and one from north to south. And we often had castles with little villages. The villages provided support and food and so on for the castles. So where these trade routes met, many cities developed, and they needed walls around them, so they were secured with walls and little gates where you had the streets. And the center of these towns were either marketplaces or churches, for example, and they usually were town halls where the cities, the towns, were managed. Houses were only built inside the walls because it was too unsafe outside. And you can see those little streets and alleys here, the white things, the white lines, and they were very narrow, and also manufacturing, the red dots, they were inside the city walls. Now let's come to the city development until the 19th century. Those cities with their walls, they became too small after some time, and this is why we had to build houses, for example, residential areas or manufacturing outside. Also, sometimes palaces, castles, new castles were built, and we had parks, so some park areas, and we had manufacturing outside and new residential areas like around all the city. In the 19th century, the most important development was the development of the trains. So here you can see that we've got the train station, which is very close to the old historic city center, and around the trains, the train system, we have industry facilities. So the 19th century was the time of industrialization, and we've got more mixed quarters outside. We've got some more park areas, green spaces, Schrebergärten as we call them in German. Here you can see that again, and we've got some manufacturing, some shops and so on in the historic city center. And these shops and services like banks and insurances and so on, they became more and more in the city center, or for example, around the train stations. What do cities look like today? Today, cities have grown quite a lot, or until today, cities have grown quite a lot. You can find very big industry areas. They're still around the train system. You can find mixed quarters where we've got living and where we've got working as well, or where we've got some shops. And you can find here, these are bigger areas with Plattenbauten, for example, so large housing estates at the edges of cities where you've got more space. Also, some small villages from the surrounding were included into the city, so nowadays they belong to the bigger cities, whereas in former times they were still independent. Something new is also that we've got some sports ground at the edges of cities, usually quite close to residential areas. And we've got a hierarchic street system. So we've got the motorway here, we've got main streets which lead to the city and around the city, and we've got pedestrian precincts in the middle where you're not allowed to go by car. Also, what you need when you can't go with your car into the city, you need a lot of car parks around the city. And another new development is also the development of bigger shopping malls, which are well connected, very close to the motorway, for example, and to the train stations. And they also have bigger car parks like the Centro in Oberhausen or IKEA in Duisburg. So this is the development of the cities in Western Europe.